Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the Alex and Mo I Am a PT podcast. So, we just ended Black History Month and it is now March 2022. So, we are officially in Women's History Month. And today just happens to be the State of the Union address. So, tonight, Alex and I are going to talk about the state of physical therapy. So, as usual, we start off asking each other how our weekend was. So, Alex, how was yours?
It was good. It was good. Got a chance to go to the beach. Finally had some nice weather. We've had some nice weather, but it's been kind of a little colder than normal for Florida. Uh, Beautiful day. Got to go to the beach and had a ball. Had a ball. The kids loved it. Went with my in-laws. So yeah, it was a fun time. It was nice to get back out there. I always it's like my off season because football season's over. So my weekends aren't tied down. My weekends aren't tied down with football games, which my wife absolutely loves.
Okay.
So we try to make an effort that every weekend, we want to do something outside, weather permitting, and just kind of keep the boys entertained. Since September, every weekend we're pretty much in the house grilling and getting ready to watch football. So a lot of fun. How about yours?
It was pretty quiet, relaxing, which was good. Deserving. I cleaned the house, which was very therapeutic. I did attend um the CIAA after party. The tournament was held in Baltimore this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to take it easy since I was rear-ended early in the week, and I just wanted to make sure I didn't put too much additional strain on my back. But
How are
I'm
you feeling?
much better now. But much better, much
Good.
better.
Well, and we talked
Grateful to be
briefly.
alive, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. For us being in home health, we're on the road all day, every day. So
Yeah.
it definitely puts you at a little bit higher of a risk than probably your typical therapist. But you also got a chance to check out the Kanye
Oh
Netflix.
yes, you again. You've been after me to watch the show. So I happened to catch the two episodes this weekend, and um, it's been very moving. I am just amazed that he had that vision to document his journey from the
Yeah,
very beginning. And a lot of people probably say, "Man, this guy's a lunatic," but I'm so happy that he did that because you get to see how passionate he was, how people can push you around and tell you wait your turn when you have what it takes inside of you to fulfill your passion. And you and I discussed that line that Jay-Z told him in the studio. I mean, closed mouths don't get fed. So
absolutely.
and that's so true. So
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was pretty cool. I'm a big hip hop head. Since growing up listening to Wu Tang and Jay Z, Nas, and then I remember exactly when when Kanye dropped the College Dropout. Obviously, I was in college at that time. I was at
mhm,
Florida State, and it was such a hit. And to kind of see it now, how that came to be, and the amount of
mhm,
work and effort that Kanye put into that. But like I told
mhm.
you, he bet on himself, and I
He
think
did. He surely
as
did.
I think as individuals we should, 100% of the time I'm going to bet on myself. I feel
Yeah.
like I know what I'm capable of. I know when I a vision that I have, and when I have it, I'm going to grind and do what I need to do to try to get there. So it's definitely a very motivating um, documentary. Highly recommend it to everybody to check it out. A lot of people that don't necessarily follow Kanye's music from the beginning just know Kanye now from being in the news and married to Kim Kardashian, and obviously all the stuff that's going on with that and his kids, and the drama. And we also discussed briefly, and which you can see in the documentary, is how much of an important role Kanye's mother was to him And when she passes, that's probably around the time when he starts to just change and just kind of veer off a
Spiral
little
out of
bit.
control.
So definitely a great piece. I'm excited for the final episode that is scheduled to be released this week. So, but yeah,
Yeah, I think it comes out tomorrow. It comes out tomorrow. And it was just the little things that his mom remembered. And you could always see that whenever he was hitting a wall, he would always turn to her for some sense of encouragement and comfort. And when that's gone, it's a huge hole to fill.
yeah,
And
absolutely. I remember the scene where they show after he did the Def Jam poetry,
yeah,
and they're walking down the street, and she's just kind of replaying what Kanye did, and she's like, Kanye, that was just sick with it, like
yeah,
having that support, man, having that support is always important. And in this case for him, his mother's support was of the utmost importance for him.
yep. And I think it kept him grounded as well too.
Absolutely. Absolutely, especially in
So
that line of work, like you're grinding 24/7, you're flying all over the country trying to, in his case, he's trying to find studio time, he's trying to get what he can without having to spend, because Rockefeller at the time didn't want to take him seriously initially. So
it's funny because I even asked myself, where's PD, Crack, and all those other Jadakiss and all those guys now? And look, Kanye is like a billionaire. Jay-Z
yeah,
is still
yeah.
rocking. He's rapping.
He's a
Has
businessman. Jay-Z is a
yeah,
businessman. I think
yeah.
Kanye followed pretty closely to what Jay-Z was doing. One thing that I saw that was interesting was, even at that time, you saw a
Mm-hmm.
young Beyonce hanging
Yes.
around them,
Yep.
which I didn't know at that time, that she she was in that circle already. So that was kind of interesting.
Yep. Yep. Definitely true. One thing that I also noticed about him is that he produced beats just to make ends meet, um, to give him that time to meet artists that were already established. And that's something that a lot of us take for granted. We want to get to the end point so quickly that we don't take the baby steps or the necessary steps to propel us to the next level. We
Yeah.
want everything to happen in an instant, and that's not necessarily what happens. You have to put in that groundwork. You have to grind,
And
and
you have
that's what
to
hustling is about.
and you have to enjoy the process, because
Yep.
that's where the true labor of love is. It's the process, it's not the result, it's not the end point, is how you got there.
Yeah.
um
Most
you know
definitely.
and I think that leads us to what we wanted to discuss this evening, just kind of like the financial aspects of how we get to where we are, and once we're there, how we continue to try to become businessmen and women and entrepreneurs and do all these things. Because I think we've had this conversation ourselves, and I've had it with other people, like, you don't come to be a physical therapist because you plan on being rich just off of treating patients. That's just not going to happen, especially in today's environment. I
No.
think in healthcare as a whole, you're not making money. I mean, doctors make money, but there's a trade-off. That life-work balance for some gets a little bit out of
Hmm.
hand. But as physical therapists, like, no, you're not gonna work one job and make six figures, or above that. So yeah, I think it's an important topic that starts from the very beginning, as the
Hmm.
process of trying to get into PT school, getting into PT school, what you do while you're in PT school, and then obviously what you do afterwards.
Yes, definitely. With physical therapy, if you're trading your time for money, and you could only treat so many patients in a day. And I don't care if you're doing cash PT or taking insurance payments, you're not gonna be able to produce enough, as you said, to be a high earning six figure clinician. So you have to find ways to diversify. And with cuts in reimbursement happening, it's going to be challenging. So, um, we wanted to discuss the state of physical therapy. I know a lot of people have debated with me for encouraging people to go into like a physical therapy assistant program first, because I do believe there's better return on investment going that route, especially if you're a black or brown person. It does not diminish your clinical ability if you want to become a PTA first. It costs less. You get an idea of if it is a profession that you would want to further get into. And I think we just have to find a way to create more bridge programs to transition from being a physical therapy assistant into becoming a doctor of physical therapy. Um, when I was at the Graham session in January, I had a very detailed and interesting conversation with Keaton. She's one of the owners, co-owners of Movement X.
Mm-hmm.
She's out in Washington, and she brought up the model how you can go from being a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, or geriatric nursing assistant, to becoming an LPN within 2 years. Okay, same as a PTA license. And you could go from being an LPN to becoming an RN. You can go from an RN to becoming a nurse practitioner. And a nurse practitioner has the ability to write prescriptions, own their own offices, and make a lot of money. And they could specialize in different fields. Why don't we have a track like that available in physical therapy?
That's a great point. I mean, I think the nursing profession, which again, if you talk to and interact with nurses, on social media, Twitter, whatever, they're having the same issues. I mean, they're having staffing issues. Uh, you know, the big ticket item right now is being a travel nurse because you're just making tons of money. But you're right that transition from an entry or what I would call pre-entry level. I mean, CNAs respect salute them because the work that they do is not easy and it's stuff that nobody really wants to do. Um, but it gives them a step into the arena, and then there's different steps for them to continue to go up that way. And I think something like that would probably be a huge benefit in the PT world. You mentioned having debates with people about starting as a PTA before you make a PT. I mean, I've gone on as far as saying, hey, really reassess this whole PT thing as a whole. I love what I do, and I don't
Mm,
regret anything that I've done because it's got me to the place where I am now. But at the same time, I can be honest with myself and my experiences and try to lead other people in to not necessarily make the same mistakes or to have better outcomes than me. And I don't always know that physical therapy is that answer for some people. I mean, I always use the example of a PA. I mean, you go to PA for 2 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. So
yep.
same amount of time as going to get your DPT, and your return on investment out the gate is way better. I mean, you come out as a PA, you're again, obviously it's geographical, but at least here in the Florida area, you're like 80, 90 coming right out of school. Whereas we're arguing about why people are still making 60 grand coming out of school with a doctorate degree, right? So, um, no, I do feel like our profession has some room for improvement, um, on the financial front, on setting up people for success in kind of like the manner you described with the RN uh, profession. So yeah, we've got some work to do because it's not getting easy out there, man. Like things are expensive. It's getting hard to pay the bills, and I'm very blessed,
Yep.
but not everybody is that fortunate. I mean, shoot, just yesterday we grocery shopped for the week, I mean, we're talking about 4 meals for my wife and me because the kids just kind of snack off of stuff. It's like $250, you
Wow.
know. Then
Yeah.
we just got notice for Nicholas, my youngest one, to continue with school. And granted, he's about to be 3 in June, and this is more of a luxury. We could not have to do it, but we send them to
Hmm.
school to help benefit him. Well, shoot, that's going up starting in May. For us, it's an additional $40 a month. Now,
Yeah.
I'm in a position where, or we're in a position where $40 a month isn't going to break the bank, but for some other people, that could be a deal breaker, you know? So
Yep.
it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on, and we're just kind of stuck in the same place. Like reimbursements only getting worse. Um, so how do we bring people, how do we bring clinicians to this arena, and we can't even say, hey, we can at least help you out on the financial portion, because I just don't think it's there.
Well, I see somewhat of a trend happening, and I know for a lot of people in the home health setting, it can be scary in that there's a cap in terms of salary return if you're working in an outpatient setting. And I'm seeing a lot more people promoting the fact that you can make more money as a clinician in a skilled nursing setting, skilled nursing facility, or in home health. And traditionally, with home health, experience is needed because of the autonomy that you have. Just being by yourself in a patient's home, you have to make very important, critical decisions because most of these patients have comorbidities. And I can be a little bit biased in that I would emphatically say that I don't really want people in the home health setting who are just there for the money. It's not gonna behoove the profession. It's not gonna behoove the Academy of Home Health, and it's not gonna behoove our patients who really need that access to quality care in their homes to get them back on the road to recovery. So if it is that you're entering this profession to make money, rethink it. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So,
And and again, going into that, and something that kind of we had discussed that we wanted to touch on is, so obviously reassess if you want to be a physical therapist because you think you're going to make good money. Let's just, you've come to the fact that you're not going to do that. So now you've decided to go to PT school. It's expensive, man.
yes,
It's expensive.
it is.
Um, for me personally, this is another area where I always tell, I was a faculty member at a PT school, University of South Florida. And when we met all our incoming students, we each got assigned students that we were going to mentor, just kind of be their guide as whatever they needed. And every time I met with my students, I was like, where do you live? What's your relationship? Because that matters. Are you single? Do you have any other responsibilities? Or do you have a child? Do you have a wife, a husband, a significant other, whatever? Because all these are stressors on the process of going through the program. But I always told them, I was like, look, I've been through this. I've made mistakes. If I could do something different, man, I would have gone to PT school at that point back in Miami, where I did get
Mm.
accepted, and lived with my parents and saved a ton of money. Because now,
It's
not only am I having to pay to go to school, I got to pay to live, and I did it
mm,
because I had an ego. I'm like, no, I just spent 4 years in college doing whatever I wanted, however I wanted. There's no way I'm going back to live with my parents, man. The
okay. How old? If do you mind me asking how old you were when you were in PT school?
So I started PT school. I was 22.
22. Okay. So I know, like, for a lot of black men, brown men, it's as you said, it's ego, it's pride. You want to be grown up, you want to be on your own, come and go as you please. Because when you live in a Hispanic or Caribbean or African household, parents still have rules no matter how old
Oh,
you
for sure.
get.
I mean,
Like,
I
yeah.
would come home. I would come home for a weekend, and my mom's like, you got to be home by a certain time. I'm like, what? Like, I'm like, I'm staying at my cousin's house, so I'm going and staying at my friend's house. Don't worry about it. Yeah, no, that you still
So
had to do.
so yeah. So if you're dating and they have certain religious traditions, like you
Yeah,
don't bring your chick home at a certain
yeah.
time because there's not gonna be a
Leave that door open. Don't you dare close that door. I'll take it off the hinges.
yeah. So that's gonna cramp your style. So I know a lot of black and brown males do face that societal pressure that they have to be on their own at a certain age because it's not manly to be residing with your parents or with your mom and stuff like that. When it actually, as you said, it saves a lot financially. Like I know for me, if I didn't have scholarships to attend school, I definitely would not have been able to afford going to undergrad and even to PT school. So it was a blessing in disguise for me. So I encourage you, if you could get scholarships, if you save money staying with a relative or staying with your parent, do so.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think the biggest, the best thing that you can do for yourself outside of obviously finishing the program and passing the board exam is coming out with as little debt as possible. Um,
Yeah.
because you're going to come out a couple steps ahead of everybody else because not everybody's fortunate enough. Like, luckily I didn't really have debt going into PT school. I was on scholarship
Hmm.
at Florida State. Um, but then I had to pay for school, pay to live. Obviously, it's not recommended that you work. It can be done. It has been done. Um, I didn't,
Hey, I did it.
you
I did
know,
it.
I
I
didn't
almost
do
got
it.
kicked out of school for it though. But
I didn't. I didn't do it. I was, obviously we were like almost forbidden to work. But
mm,
you know, um, there's different circumstances. So I think one of the biggest things for any students listening and watching is, and cut corners where you can cut corners from a financial aspect. Save that money because you're going to be well off um, coming out compared to probably some of the rest of your cohort, just because it's getting expensive. It's getting expensive. Um,
definitely, definitely.
and on that same topic again, I know, and we're kind of just running through it, but it all kind of ties in. Is so you've established that, hey, you're not going to be a PT because we're not going to be rich. All right, cool. Check that box. All right, I need to
Hmm.
try to save as much money or be as frugal as I can while I'm in PT school to help set me up. Boom, check that box. Then we get to the
Hmm.
topic, a very, I know, controversial topic of, well, now it's time for you to go on your clinical, and they're sending you out of state or out of the city.
Hmm.
So you're living somewhere to attend PT school. Now you have to go somewhere else, find somewhere to live for, you know, months, however long your clinical rotation is at that point. And on top of that, you're going to pay the university some money because
And you're not even going to be on campus.
you're not on campus, right? So, like, the finances, they come in everywhere. And I can say that I was lucky enough to where all my clinicals were in the Tampa Bay area. So I was able to go and come home. I
Hmm.
didn't have to pay somewhere, to go live somewhere else. I was able to do it all here. So very blessed on that standpoint. But we know, because we see it from students on Twitter, that that's not the case. I mean, I've heard of stories of students living out of their cars just to get to their rotation, getting a gym membership so they have access to a shower and a bathroom. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Yep. Yep. It happens. it happens. I know someone who was actually sent out of state and had to, share a house with, I think, 2 to 3 other students during an 8 week clinical rotation in a state they've never been before or knew no one there. So it is challenging. And if you don't have that family support or that financial support, it can definitely drive you crazy and make you want to give up. And then to do something like that before you graduate and then have to study for the MPTE, it can break you. It can
Yeah,
definitely break you.
absolutely. I will shout out. I think you've actually met him in person, Josh
Mhm.
Funk. Um,
Yes.
because he is actually, I think he's done it or in the process of it because I saw it on
Mm.
Twitter. Where so he owns a couple clinics around you, if I'm not mistaken, or
Oh, well, he's actually about to open his seventh one, and in a neighboring county to mine. It's actually only like 20 minutes from where I live. So I keep encouraging him to come to my county, and I heard it from the horse's mouth that it may be happening soon. So
well,
we'll be lucky number eight.
that'd be cool. But the reason I bring him up is because he did
Yeah.
something which I thought was just brilliant, which is he said,
Hmm.
"I'm a clinic owner. I want to support not only my employees, but I want to support the students that are coming to experience my clinic." So what did he do? Him and his wife decided to buy a house somewhere
Yep.
close to one of their locations. And guess what? All the students coming to do rotations, they have somewhere to live. Now, I don't
Yep.
know the financial setup, quite frankly, doesn't even matter because he's already done 10 times more than the universities are doing or
Hmm.
these practices are doing who want these students to come in. Um, and I'm going to be naive, so to speak, and say that they want these students to come because they really want to give them that experience and teach them and do all that stuff. But at the same time, we know that's not all that happens. We know that they come
Hmm.
in and they use the students as another opportunity to build and to generate more revenue. But shout out to Josh because that's innovative, man. That's innovative what he's doing and what he's done. And I follow him on Twitter. That he seems like a real cool guy and very smart and has his head on right. And he's definitely more proactive with what he's doing. Aside from the fact that his brother is a Super Bowl champion,
Yes,
so
definitely.
that's also pretty cool. But yeah, man, I just think if we want to attract young, intelligent individuals to our profession, we got to help them out. We got to help them out.
I want to give additional shout out to Josh, who I've met in person and sat had lunch with, and yes, thanks to Jake, he suggested a restaurant that Josh and I should have our first business lunch date at, and it turned out to be a really dope restaurant in Riverdale, near College Park, where Jake went to school at University of Maryland. But Josh took the initiative to actually host HBCU students. And it's very tough for HBCU PT programs to have clinical sites. But that was something that he specifically targeted. And I know of 3 students who attended my alma mater, Howard University, who went to his clinics and they had a very awesome experience. Those 3 students are doing well now professionally in the different areas that they're at. They said the experience was great. So I like to see clinic owners who are really invested in their communities and they walk the talk every single day. And I love the culture that he's building at these locations that he's had he's at, and I wish him all the best. So I can't wait to see what the next 5 to 10 years has in store for rehab to perform, and Dr. Josh Font. So I really want to give him credit for that, and for also doing a lot of the mentorship stuff that we request of him for the state chapter as well too.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
so it's kind of, that's a mentality that a lot of students think that a lot of these clinics are benefiting from having free labor, quote unquote free labor. And I, in the home health setting, it's sort of different because I do have students. You can't really bill for a visit that a student does, and you have to basically be doing direct supervision anyway in the home health setting. So I'm not gonna say that it increases productivity in the home health setting. In the outpatient setting, I know when I was a student, yes, I was doing evaluations and treatments and all that stuff like that, but my notes had to be co-signed by the therapist. And I believe Medicare came up with a rule after a while that you can really bill uh,
For
for a
students.
student
Yeah.
treating. Yeah, so I've been out of outpatient for a while, so but I believe that's what I heard. So I am not gonna go with this free labor sort of stuff. um but I do believe the universities can offer like probably a discounted payment for the duration that someone is doing a clinical rotation, especially if they have to go out of state. I do not think someone should be paying the full tuition
Yeah.
during their clinical rotations.
No, I mean, and as I always tell you, as I've said on this show before, is you just follow the money. Follow the money. I mean,
Yep.
obviously, these universities, they have to sustain themselves, um, and they got to make money, and they don't have, depending on the situation, where it's a state institution versus a private institution. Obviously, that factors into tuition rates, and things of that nature. But they've got some input, because if I'm not in the building, I'm not getting direct instruction from any of the school faculty members, then what am I really paying for? Right? Because I'm not in
Yep.
the building. None of my faculty members are instructing me in any way, shape, or form. So what am I getting in return? The ability to go to a clinic, but I could have probably done that myself if they let me.
And most students are finding their own clinical sites.
If they let them, because I've heard of
Yeah, if they let
institutions
them.
that if the institutions won't let them. I've heard of scenarios where students can find a location that is next to their parents' house or in their parents' town. So to facilitate that living situation, and they're not allowed. Or the process is, well, that we have to start a long drawn out, and I get it. There's liability, there's all this other stuff. But again, it can be worked out. It can be worked out, in my opinion, to where we can make things a little
it,
bit easier.
it can be worked out. It can be worked out for someone who has had memorandums done with universities. It can be worked out. It's just what they're willing to do
it,
for the student.
it's the motivation.
Yeah.
Again, like I think we touched on this last episode, is like, if somebody doesn't feel it, then there's no motivation to do anything about it. So right now,
Yeah.
these universities don't have any motivation, as far as I'm concerned. Um, and I know that I interact with, on Twitter's, faculty members at some programs throughout the country. I'd welcome their feedback on it. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is absolutely right or necessarily true, but it's just a perception that you get from interactions on social media, and obviously from when I was a student and when I was a faculty member. It was all the same. I don't think much has changed then, other than the cost just keeps going up along with everything else. Um, So again, I just think we have to do a better job of making the process of becoming a physical therapist more appealing, uh, with a better return on investment. I mean, again, once you've established that I'm not a therapist because I want to be rich, it's not why I did it. I loved helping
Hmm.
people. The sports aspect is what initially drew me to it.
Hmm.
Um, but it's hard. It's hard when you're working very hard and you're not necessarily bringing in the money that you would like to bring, or in some cases, the money that you need to bring in. But then you hear in um, other fields, not healthcare related, and people can go into their boss or go get another job, and they'll get a 15 and 20% raise. You know,
Definitely.
I today I was having a conversation with a coworker. His friend is in like IT, and because he works from home, he has like three full-time jobs, but he's so good at what he does and nobody knows, one from the other. Well, guess what? He's doing three full-time jobs, making three times as much money, working half the amount of time,
Yep.
right? But we can't do that. It just doesn't work in healthcare. So if we can't do that,
No.
we gotta figure out some other ways to try to make it appealing.
Yep. People talk about, going upstream and, going to like middle schools and even starting as early as kindergarten to make people more aware of physical therapy profession. But the financial cost is going to be a barrier to entry anyway, especially if you compare it to someone getting into finance or IT or even another medical profession. Because if it takes the same amount of time for someone to go from undergrad to med school as it would take a DPT program, and you could become an internist or a surgeon and make three times, four times the amount of money as a physical therapist, or even becoming a chiropractor. Why would you choose to go into physical therapy?
Absolutely.
Um, when you have all these regulations behind your profession and you're free as a chiropractor to operate with as much autonomy as you can. So to me, it's more than going upstream. It's more than just mentoring. You can't, go and say, "Hey, look at me. I'm representing. I am what a black doctor or black therapist or brown doctor, or brown physical therapist represents or whatever," and expect that, okay, someone looks at you and looks at me and say, "Hey, I want to be like this person," but they don't have the resources available to make it through and survive
Yeah.
the program. They're gonna feel duped, and it can be frustrating. So I don't want to encourage people along that path to be frustrated and burnt out, and then resent the profession as a whole. So let's try to make it easier, not only for them to enter, but to enjoy it as well too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, in my opinion, that's the biggest state of physical therapy right now. It kind of revolves around the financial on all different fronts of the profession. Before you get in the profession, while you're studying to be a part of the profession, and then once you become a part of the profession.
yes, definitely, because you do want to enjoy your life too, and enjoy your weekends, be able to go to the beach and stuff. But if you're doing 2 to 3 jobs as a physical therapist and you're just treating, it's gonna be tough to find time to go hike and spend time with family and stuff like that too. So
Absolutely.
I'm like,
Absolutely.
what, 12, 14? No, ooh, Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. So so I'm kind of cutting back on my grinding days, and my priorities have changed. To me, as we talked earlier about, losing someone that you care about and love deeply, it changes your perspective on a lot of
Yeah,
things. It makes you want to value spending time with family more. So that has been my focus for the past 2 years. And COVID did a number on me too. It really changed my perspective. You could see somebody today and they're gone tomorrow, so just enjoy life as much as you can.
absolutely.
So
And
um
I think that's important. I think you just need to value the time that you have right now because tomorrow's not promised. So
yeah, most definitely. So I mean, we are not going to discourage anyone from entering the profession, but again, enter it for the right reasons.
absolutely.
You have to be truly passionate about it. You have to think outside the box to be able to enjoy practicing as a clinician. I mean, there are non-clinical aspects of physical therapy as well, but graduating from school, most people do have to trade time for money.
Yeah.
And just as Alex suggested early on in the episode, try to save as much money in costs as much as possible. And my encouragement to people is to diversify, invest as early as you can, even while you're in school. Try to pick some good stocks, um, and let them grow. Sit back and let it grow.
That's all you need to do. Just put it in
Yep,
there and just leave it alone.
yep. So,
All righty.
so any sound advice you give anyone as we wrap up?
Again, just to piggyback on what you said
It's
is
Fat Tuesday. It's Fat Tuesday. It's Fat Tuesday, Alex. Come on.
to piggyback what you said. I think getting into this profession, getting into any profession, uh, for the right reasons is the most important thing because you don't want to put in this time and effort and then find out that this just is not what you want to be doing. That just sets you back time wise. You don't get it back financially, whatever you put into it. Um, so just do your homework. Do your homework, do things for the right reasons. And as long as you do it for the right reasons, things are going to work out. I'm a firm believer that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And if you love what you do, you're also success is going to find you. Success will
Yep.
find you.
As one of the quotes that I posted during Black History Month, Nick Cannon said, "My vocation is my vacation." Um, I enjoy every day that I have to work because I like talking with people. I enjoy spending time with people. If I have an opportunity to make one person's day better than it was yesterday or bring a smile on their face, I know I've done and my God-given duty for that day. So just try to
Absolutely.
enjoy what you're doing and love what you're
Absolutely.
doing.
Absolutely. All
So,
right. Well, thank
all
you
right.
everybody
So,
again. Thank you everybody that keeps watching, supporting us. We're gonna keep pushing out content, different stuff, and hopefully everybody enjoys it.
yes, I have to give a special shout out to my mom's former coworkers who have been tuning into the podcast and letting her know that they're watching the
Respect.
podcast.
Respect. Thank you.
So, so I appreciate all those ladies my mom's age who basically helped raise me, and they would pass me on the street and be like, "Yeah, I'm looking at you, young lady. I'm looking at you." So
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
yeah, so we do appreciate it. We enjoy the feedbacks that we've been getting as well, and we hope to continue to improve each episode that we drop. So stay tuned for next week. We'll be dropping hints during the week on what we will be discussing.
And let us
But
know. Let us know what you want us to talk about.
oh yes, oh we have to talk about what's going on in your crazy state, Alex. Next
Let's
week.
save that. We'll save that one for next week. We'll save that one for next week. There's always stuff in Florida.
Always tough in Florida. All right. So you guys have a wonderful rest of the evening and the rest of the week, and we look forward to hearing from you guys. This episode is gonna drop later on tonight, so let us know on all social media channels: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and also on LinkedIn. All right,
Good night.
that's a wrap. Good
Peace.
night. Peace.